Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games, and you're watching This Week in MTG Finance. As always, and before we get started, I want to thank MTG Stocks for allowing us to use graphical information for the purposes of this video. All in all, this was a pretty slow week. In fact, most of the cards we're going to cover today are on the rise due to collector buyouts. Now, this may be a sign that the markets are actually starting to cool off. We haven't seen these wild weeks where we've had cards up 3,000–4,000%. In fact, the big winner this week is only up 240%. Is this a sign that the markets are cooling off? Why don't you let me know what you think about this in the comments section below? All right, let's dive right into our top 10 list, and we're going to start right here in the number 10 spot with Magma Opus. Up 86% this week to $3.17, Magma Opus is a mythic from Strixhaven's School of Mages. This is one of those cards that has the ability to turn the tide of the game. Granted, it is 8 mana, 1 red, 1 blue, and 6. Now at instant speed, we can have it deal 4 damage divided as we choose among any number of targets. We also tap 2 target permanents and create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token, and finally draw 2 cards. That's a lot of stuff we're getting for 8 mana. It also has some early game usefulness in that we can discard it for just 2 mana and create a treasure token, which will help ramp us out in future turns. And coming in at number 9, we have our only reserved card on our list this week, and that would be Escaped Shapeshifter from Tempest. At $18, this is also up 86% this week. Interesting card in that we get a 3/4 Shapeshifter for 5 mana, and as long as our opponents control any creatures with either flying, first strike, trample, or protection, Escape Shapeshifter gains those abilities. This harkens back to the days where a 5 mana 3/4 that had the ability to gain all of these different keywords was a pretty good deal. In terms of today's power level, this is a little bit underwhelming. Our number 8 winner this week is also up 86%, and it's moving for all of the right reasons. Scrap Mastery, specifically the Commander Anthology Volume 2 version, is at $3.10, and this was also printed in Commander 2014. Of note, you can still get a copy of the 2014 version for under $2. There's a couple of new commanders that we've seen come out of Strixhaven, and that would be Oscar the Reconstructor and Alibu Ancient Witness, and both of these make use of artifacts, so Scrap Mastery naturally is a perfect fit for that deck. For 5 mana, we're getting a sorcery, and each player exiles all artifact cards from their graveyard, then sacrifices all artifacts they control, and puts all cards they exiled this way onto the battlefield. I would expect that Scrap Mastery stays on the move for the next couple of weeks, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the Commander 2014 version playing catch-up. Our number 7 winner this week is Rotting Rats, specifically the Plane Chase printing. At $3.63, this is up 106% this week. Of note, this also has a printing in Conflux, but it's typical that we see these smaller print runs like Plane Chase and Arch Enemy being worth substantially more than their original set printings. Rotting Rats is a perfect card for something like Terrorgrade God of Fright. For 2 mana, we're getting a rat, and when it enters the battlefield, each player discards a card, and of course, you can unearth it for just another 2 mana. Pretty good deal for a total of 4 mana to have each player discarding 2 cards, especially in a deck like Terrorgrid. Our number 6 winner is another one of these cards that's been on and off our list a few times over the course of the last month or so. Sisters of the Flame, specifically the Dark printing, at $8 is up 129% this week. It's actually a pretty decent card, especially for red deck. It's pretty hard to get mana dorks in red. And for 3 mana, we're getting a 2/2. It's actually a human shaman, so that's been errated, and you can tap it to add red to your mana pool. It also has a 4th edition printing for around a quarter if you're looking at picking one up on the cheap. Breaking into the number 5 spot this week, we have Flying Carpet from Arabian Nights. At almost $90, this thing is up 153% this week. And this is one of those cards, this is a common occurrence for the rest of our list this week. It's one of those cards that's on the rise due to collectability reasons. We've seen this happening a lot with commons and uncommons and various cards from the original sort of 3 expansions, Arabian Nights, Antiquities, and Legends. And even to some extent, the Dark has been on the move a lot this year as well. This has been printed a ton. In fact, it's actually modern legal considering it was printed in 8th edition. You can find a copy in almost any other printing for under $1, except of course for the very rare and collectible Summer Magic. Not a particularly great card. For 4 mana, we're getting an artifact that we can pay to give one of our creatures flying until end of turn. If that creature dies, then we also lose our flying carpet. And in the number 4 spot this week, we have another card that's on the move purely for collectible reasons. Glyph of Delusion from Legends is also up 153% this week to just over $2.56. This is pretty much an unplayable card. I mean, it might slot into something like Pramicon, but even that seems like a bit of a stretch. For 1 mana, we're getting an instant where we put X counters on a creature that got blocked by a wall this turn. And then that creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step until all of the counters are removed. And of course, it removes 1 counter during each of that creature's controller's upkeep. Like I was saying, this seems like a pretty unplayable card. However, for the same reasons as our number 5 winner, Flying Carpet, these types of cards are on the move purely for collectible reasons because they were printed in the original 3 expansions. Here we have another collectible card in the number 3 spot. Hunding Jorgensen is at $9 and it's also up 153% this week. It is a legend from Legends. Of course, this is not on the reserve list, and he is a 6 mana 5/4 legendary with Rampage 1. Not a whole lot to say about this guy, really not super playable. However, most of these legends from Legends have been on the rise now for about 2 or 3 years or so. And although it's not on the reserve list, it's never had a reprint, and it seems likely that it never will. We've discussed the various different seasonal printings of Mishra's Factory at times in the past as they've cropped up on our list. And this week in particular, our number 2 winner, Mishra's Factory Fall, is at $200 and it's up 167% this week. It was a really cool idea from back in Antiquities where they did different art of this particular card that represented the 4 different seasons. And they all have different values, most of them being north of $150. This card's had a ton of reprints. In fact, recently we've seen it in sets to the likes of Double Masters and even Masters 25. I really do think that they missed an opportunity here to revive that old style of art, and I hope it's something that they consider doing again in the future. And our big winner this week, up 241% to $3.38, is Wall of Caltrops from Legends. I honestly believed I would never actually say that. Wall of Caltrops is not a reserve list card, however, it has never had another printing. For 2 mana, we're getting a 2/1 wall, and if Wall of Caltrops and at least another wall blocks a creature, and no other creatures except walls are blocking, then it gains banding until end of turn. This card is pretty far from playable, but if it does fall into the same categories as many of the other cards we saw on our list this week, it's a collectible card from one of the original expansions that's never had a reprint. Kudos to our big winner this week, Wall of Caltrops from Legends. Alright, before I get into cards I'm investing in this week, as always, if you're a subscriber, you know I want to thank you for your continued support. And if not, now's a great time to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I want to kick things off with Author of Shadows from the brand new Commander 2021. At just $3, this is a bargain basement price. For 5 mana, we're getting a 3/3 Shade Warlock. Now, when it enters the battlefield, we exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards, so at very minimum, we're gonna get that. Then we choose a non-land card exiled this way, and we can cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and we can spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. Really good deal for just 5 mana. I think this is going to be making its way into a lot of black commander decks, and of note, for just a quarter more, you can get the extended art version if you so choose. Up next, we have a really solid card for most green commander decks. Man, green has been getting a lot of love lately, especially in Commander. The extended art version is currently sitting at $12.60. And if you're looking to grab up one of these cards, I think I would pull the trigger on that very soon. It actually hit an all-time low of around $11 a couple of days ago and has bounced up since then. The actual regular sort of Commander version is sitting at around $20. This is the one that you get in the collector boosters and the like. For 3 mana, we're getting a Troll Wizard that's a 2/2. It has Flash, and commander creatures you control get +2/+2. Commanders you control also have Hexproof. So really good sort of stopper card when someone goes to spot remove your commander. And then of course provides ongoing bonuses for your commander as long as the Guardian is around. This card is going to make its way into a lot of decks. And last but not least, we have our speculation play for the week. That's right, it's Semester's End from Strixhaven School of Mages. This is a bargain basement price at just 67 cents, and I do believe it's one of the biggest sleepers from this set. For just 4 mana, we're getting an instant, and we can exile any number of creatures and or planeswalkers we control, and at the beginning of the next end step, return each of them to the battlefield under their owner's control, and then if they're creatures, they get a +1/+1 counter, and if they're planeswalkers, they get an additional loyalty counter. For 4 mana to be able to save all of your stuff, this is a fantastic card. Let's compare it to something like Ghostway, which has a very similar effect. Now, Ghostway is 1 cheaper, however, it only affects creatures, and it doesn't return them with the additional counters. The pricing on Ghostway is about $18, and although that may not be a fair price comparison, considering Ghostway was printed many years ago and has never had another reprint, it does still give us an idea of how much this type of card actually gets played and its long-term potential value. Alright, well, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of This Week in MTG Finance. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps me out, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.